all algorithms today that we are so dependent on are all recommendation algorithms.
We know that you kind of live in this side of the lane, but when you query a topic or when you ask about something, can we serve you both sides?
At the beginning of the year, we all thought we would have been much further ahead somehow.
The simpler things have to get simpler.
Have we become so non resilient that we have to hear positive feedback and reinforcement every single time?
I think we've agreed that men and women bring very different things to the workplace.
The perspective itself is important.
And I think we're way past the point where we are saying that we're a charity case.
And it'll make your panel better.
I really wish we go beyond asking for some of the most simple, basic stuff.
We don't want to be discussing whether we belong.
I've been pleasantly happy to see that you're able to do multiple things.
Instead of calling it a midlife crisis, let's call it midlife clarity.
My 20s and even 30s, there was no language saying we give you permission. Yes, it's that time of year when everyone's looking back and looking ahead. So we're going to do a bit of both. Clearly, it's the festive season. I have my very tall elf with me, and I'm somewhere between Christmas and New Year. No, actually, Diwali and New Year, right? So, welcome to our festival closure, this 2025, which has been a fantastic year for small talk, work, play, build, amazing guests, wonderful conversations. But we thought we'd look ahead a little bit more and maybe talk to you about what we want 2026 to be like, right? And I'm being very clear here what we want. This is not what we think will happen. This is not what should happen, but just what's on top of our mind, what would be lovely for 2026 in our world, in the things that we do, and with the people that we love, and what we want just for everyone out there, maybe. Yeah? How does that sound?
Sounds perfect. It sounds like the Raincraft end of year newsletter to me.
Yeah, I've got to go back and write that one. But no, it has been a wonderful, wonderful year. We started Jan saying, how can we go on video? And as we just giggled before the camera rolled, we really enjoy this.
We really do. Yeah, a bit too much. And I wouldn't have it any other way.
So, welcome to Small Talk Work Play Build. I'm Subha Chandrasekharan, Leadership and Career Growth Coach.
And I'm Hasita. I'm a brand consultant and co founder at Motley Crue.
So, what's the next year? What do you want, Hasita? It
You
shall
know,
be granted.
yes, it shall. It shall be. I mean, it has to be. It doesn't have a choice. It reminds me of the sort of the vision boarding exercises we used to do for the
Huh.
longest time, always in December. Something about the year rolling around.
Yeah.
It gives you some hope, some joy. And it has been a year. I mean, 2025 in so many ways has had very high highs and very low lows for me personally as well. And I've somehow, just spent my time trying to oscillate
Yeah.
between all of them. So I think broadly, I am looking forward to the calendar dates turning, if I'm being
Yeah.
very honest.
No, something new. I don't know, even if it's just a, like you said, a calendar page, there's excitement. There are new diaries to be bought, new
Oh, yeah.
planners to be bought. There's a lot of excitement
Bold
in
of you to
that.
think I haven't already. But
I know, it's a September task, but yeah. But I think what I'm just thinking back to some of the lovely guests that we had,
Mm.
and a topic which we kept coming back to in different ways, sometimes deeply and sometimes just touching upon, was AI, right? Can't escape it.
Mm.
And I'm just wondering, what do I want
Mm.
in 2026 when I'm thinking about this phenomenon that's not going to go away,
Mm. Mm.
but it's invading our lives in so many ways. And I do think I needed to strangely get more personal,
Mhm, mhm,
if that makes sense. It
mm.
still seems like something, yes, there is an algorithm, it's telling me what to watch, it's telling me what I like, recommending more stuff, but it's still, I feel like you know so much more about me, and so why are you showing me this book? or
Hmm.
this
Hmm.
movie
Hmm.
or telling me only this point of view.
Hmm, hmm, hmm. Point of view is an interesting idea, right? I mean, generally, all algorithms today that we are so dependent on are
Hmm.
all recommendation algorithms. I
Yeah,
mean, there's too much information out there for us to be exposed to all of it. I think we'd
correct,
all lose our minds and the computational power required to be able to
correct,
do that.
correct.
But we've spoken about this so many times that the depth of an individual or the nuance of a person is formed by the counter point of view,
Yeah.
right? Where is my bias? Because just this morning I was asking our production team how many business podcasts happen here in this space, and I thought in my mind the answer would be not many, right? I'm
Hmm.
hoping because I'm one of the few
Yeah.
chosen few, right? But he said, but most of the podcasts are business podcasts.
Uh-huh.
Very few are. So somebody has to open my mind to that perspective. Otherwise, I would just believe
Correct.
the wrong thing for the rest of my life,
No,
right?
correct. Because today we are forced to find the other point of view and then hit follow,
Hmm, hmm,
right?
hmm, hmm.
So
And even then, there's no guarantee that I'll continue to see that point of view.
correct, correct. So I remember during the elections, the US elections, my husband would make it a point to follow, the usual what is served to
Hmm,
us,
hmm, hmm.
which was very side of the coin, and make sure he also follows a Fox News and, something which is the
Yeah,
other
yeah.
side, just to understand what's happening there. But it had to be a forced action. Like you had
Hmm,
to
hmm,
think
hmm.
that, hey, maybe I'm not
That
seeing the
I
other
have to
point.
go and check
Correct,
rather
correct.
than,
But
yeah,
I
yeah.
feel like what, AI can really serve me better
Hmm,
in saying we know that you kind of live in this side of the lane,
hmm, hmm,
but when you query a topic
hmm,
or
hmm.
when you ask about something, can we serve you both sides?
That's an interesting. In fact, the thing about AI again is sort of, it's a meta conversation almost on this bias aspect itself. Because
Mm,
I think at the beginning of the year, we all thought we would have been much further ahead somehow. Whether that was good for us or not
yeah,
is,
yeah,
questionable. But, there was promise of true AGI, and there was
correct,
promise of not the best thing, but to say suddenly we will live in some kind of a post utopian universe where none of us have to do jobs anymore, and we
correct,
thought
correct,
it would have happened by
correct.
now. Thank god it didn't,
Yeah,
because I don't think we would know systemically how to handle that. But somewhere I use chat gpt more than most other tools, because now it's the habit. It's not
mm,
even it's
yeah,
not a better or worse
correct.
conversation anymore. It's just the most easily
Yeah,
available
yeah.
this thing. But I keep wondering, we didn't get that far yet, right? Like, I mean, we thought
No,
we would have been somewhere else, but at the
no,
same time, the bias there, which I want to be so cognizant of, is that industries are shifting. People are losing jobs because of this. It's not
yeah,
false, but it's not fully true either. So, how many different people, and I was just thinking, say, someone like the CEO of NVIDIA, I would love to see him sit down on a 3 hour podcast with someone like a Stephen Bartlett and just talk, right?
mm,
Because we've also all our figureheads today are too polarizing, I find.
correct.
So it's just too much cognitive information for me to even make opinions around.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's what. So if you know me so well, then why do I have to log in each time? Why do I have
Mm-hmm.
to, like, the simpler things have to get simpler, no?
Mm-hmm.
Because every time I'm, opening Teams, you're like, is it really you? Put this number in your Outlook email and
Mm-hmm.
confirm. And, like,
Are
I'm
you a
sitting,
robot? And
are you a
yeah,
robot?
maybe.
And like, I have to prove to a robot that I'm human. Like, this is not making sense.
Yeah, it's like one of our guests said, right? Like, I thought AI would be doing the laundry while I was
Yeah,
doing the creative
yeah,
work,
yeah.
and it's a popular meme as well. But I mean, I hope at some point we
It
get to
has to,
that.
so it has to do the easy stuff better,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
If I'm sitting in my same, in the same spot in my house every day and opening my laptop on that same device, then why are you asking, is it really you?
Hmm,
Like,
hmm, hmm.
by now.
It had to be, right?
It had
Yeah,
to be,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So, and a lot of things of, when you search for holiday destinations, flight tickets, or even, maps to somewhere you want to go, it still feels very impersonal.
Hmm, hmm,
Like,
hmm.
I will probably leave from here at this time. Like, tell
Hmm,
me,
hmm,
like,
hmm.
it- you
And
know
also, speaking about bias, I remember this conversation we had last week where we said, but GPT reinforces, and by that I mean any conversational AI, it's saying things like, yes, you're right. That's
yeah,
such a nuanced perspective.
yeah,
And then when you challenge it, also, it says, oh, of course, my mistake. You were so smart. I wonder, you know, have we become so non-resilient that we
yeah,
have to hear positive feedback
yeah,
and
yeah,
reinforcement
yeah.
every single time?
No, that was the meme last week going around, right? Where um, you know, somebody says, "Can I eat this berry?"
Hmm.
And AI says, "Yes, of course, it's a lovely berry from this tree in South America, whatever, whatever." And the person says, "Oh my God, this was poisonous, and
Yeah.
I'm choking." And then AI says, "Oh yes, you're right."
Yeah, yeah. It
So
truly is one of.
everything feels like that. Even as ChatGPT users now, it's telling me this is how this would you should reply in your tone. And but like, I don't know,
Yeah,
it's like
yeah,
now again I'm in that bubble
yeah.
where everything it's telling me is just one way.
So, what do we want the next year of AI continuing to impact our lives look like? What do we want out of that?
I think one, it really needs to take some of the tasks out of my hand, right?
That's
So
true.
if that is agentic, whatever it may be, if I have a meeting coming up, you give me a pre-read
Yeah.
about it just gets smarter, like become a good,
True
assistant.
smart, like common sense,
Common
which I
sense
think,
smart,
yeah,
I
yeah.
think. And then do the simple things easily, like even many of the, I don't know, these are you know first world problems, but even many of the OTT channels and all, every time I'm going, I'm searching for something because it's not, but I just watched
Mm-hmm.
it yesterday, like where did it go,
Yeah,
right? Like
yeah.
the simple things.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Strangely, the thing that my TV refuses to show and continue watching is Grey's
Grey's
Anatomy.
Anatomy, right? Same. I
I have
don't
to
know why.
search for it every
I
time, and it's like trying to tell me enough is enough.
know. 22, 23 seasons. But yeah, we're coming back to it in January.
But yeah, make the easy stuff easy, become a real assistant, which, yeah, I understand it means that it's going to be a little bit more intrusive.
Hmm.
But I have a
But you are
feeling it
intrusive
already knows all
anyway,
this.
right? I mean, it's
Yeah,
not like,
yeah, you
yeah,
already know all
yeah.
this, so just do a better job of it,
Fair enough.
right?
Yeah,
Um,
agreed.
that's our simple wish.
AI can do better. Oh my God, I never thought.
Yeah, what else? What else do we want? Um,
Did women ruin the workplace?
oh, yes, we did.
Still boils my blood.
We came as this wave and we just ruined the workplace.
And the difficult part of it is we started the year with this conversation. Why are we ending
Yeah,
the year with this
yeah,
conversation as well?
correct. We started the year with DEI is dead, and apparently we only killed it.
Yeah, we
So,
ruined the,
yeah,
workplace. And
yeah.
just the act of showing up here has ruined something for somebody.
Correct,
Yeah,
correct. No, I
glad.
think if you put that into, what do I want from the next year? We do, we've done through XLRI, through Upsurge, and through our own work, we do a lot of conversations around women at the
Yeah.
workplace, right? And what the struggles still exist, the challenges are very real, and they're going to exist going into 2026. Um, can we make those conversations easier to have and so much more part of the daily language, right? In
Hmm.
different parts of our life. Like, I shouldn't have to keep pointing out one more, I don't know, Economic Times summit, which is all men on the
Hmm.
panel.
Hmm. Hmm.
But without fail, it pops up at least every 2, 3 months, right? And the bias is so clear. It'll be a real estate summit or some construction summit.
Hmm.
Sometimes
Hmm.
even, pharma, AI, and you're like, there are so many amazing women in these
Yeah.
fields,
Yeah.
and we can't keep making the business case again and again
Hmm.
as to the benefit of diversity,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? I think we've agreed that men and women bring very different things to the workplace.
And the point being, the perspective itself is important, right? Which is
Yeah,
what we were saying earlier as well. Unless you bring diverse
yeah,
voices into the room, how will you hear different things? We don't want more people just saying, yeah, of course, I agree with you.
yeah, yeah.
Disagree, no, sometimes. And for that,
Correct,
different life experiences have to
correct,
contribute.
correct. And I think we're way past the point where we are saying that we're a charity case. We're
Hmm.
not saying, oh, call
Oh, that.
women because, isn't it your duty to make sure like 20% of your panel is women? We're saying more than 50% of women qualify to be on that panel.
Hmm. And it'll make your panel better,
Yeah,
which you're
yeah,
not. I mean,
yeah.
panel is just one example, but yeah.
Correct, correct. So I think we have. I really wish we go beyond asking for some of the most simple, basic stuff. I don't know, sharing of workload and assuming the woman will do a lot of the emotional labor at home, and do all of the little things that need to get done, because if they
Hmm.
don't, they become very big issues.
Yeah, yeah,
If the and it's still that way, like if the women are not attending the PTMs, if they're not making sure their kids
yeah,
are
yeah,
getting dropped and picked up from school, if they're not making sure, the if if you're privileged and lucky, that the house help is doing what needs to be done, the system fails.
yeah, yeah.
But it can't be only her job.
Hmm.
I was watching this show, a series, one of those limited series called All Her Fault. I mean, the title says a lot, and in very simple ways, sometimes subtly and sometimes directly, the protagonists, women, upper class US, rich, going through, a child is kidnapped. There's a kind of a mystery to be solved, etc. But time and again, the spouses are like, but why didn't you do that? Which is something
Hmm.
child care related or home care related, that
Hmm.
it's her job.
Hmm.
She
Hmm.
should have
Hmm.
done it right.
Yeah.
But it was never, and so at one point, one of the leads, she turns to her spouse and says, why are you always asking me when your time for childcare is over? Why are you always trying to run away from this?
Yeah. Yeah.
That I never get that opportunity. It's like when you're there, you
Yeah.
do something, but the rest of the time, it's my job.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, as someone who travels a lot now in my current various engagements, I think it's a journey and it takes
Mm.
a lot of practice and a lot of, because we are just not used to it. Society is
Yeah,
not
yeah,
telling us, and it's not going to tell us. I think that
yeah.
it's okay.
No,
It
and
just
I'm sure it judges the spouse also a lot,
it does.
right?
It does. And both spouses, by the way,
Yeah,
it's not even
yeah.
like
That's
a,
what. Yeah,
yeah, there's some sort of discomfort with,
correct,
doing things which are not the norm, I find
correct,
in that. Yeah, yeah.
correct.
But please, and so many people working for all kinds of brands that we collaborate with, they're traveling incredible hours to get to
Mm,
work.
mm,
And it's so surprising and rather heartbreaking to realize that on days when they may need some time off, it's just not an option.
yeah,
They have to figure something out in a metro. I mean, how do you do that?
yeah. So I think, too bad we ruined the workplace, but
Yeah,
we're here to stay, and we
yeah,
just
yeah,
want a lot of the. Let's move beyond some of these things. Like, let's just tick the
yeah.
box
And
and say
just,
we agree.
yeah,
More
my
women on
want is that
panels.
we shouldn't
Yeah,
even, I mean, let's stop here. Yeah.
yeah,
Like we started the year with this, we are ending the year with this. It has to stop at
yeah,
some point. We
yeah.
don't want to be discussing whether we belong.
Correct. We are here. We belong. We belong on panels. We belong on committees. We belong in senior management. We do a good job when we're there. We
Yeah.
do a great job,
In fact, we
actually.
over prepare.
Yeah. Over prepare and over deliver in
Hmm.
most cases. We need more world leaders who are women,
Oh, yes.
because the men have really done a great job in
Yeah,
2025.
I just recommend the Kamala Harris episode with Stephen Bartlett here.
Yes,
Like, I
yes.
surely think
Yeah,
everybody
yeah.
should watch that.
And I
Yeah.
love what Michelle Obama said
Yeah.
recently when they asked her if she's going to run for president.
She said, you
And
are not
you're
ready
not
for
ready,
this.
so don't waste my time.
Exactly.
And it's true, we are not ready for a woman president. As a country, they aren't. Don't waste my time. And I think that's how a lot of us feel. But that also means she's stepping away from that, and we don't want that.
Yeah, yeah,
Right? Want more steps forward.
yeah. I think speaking of steps forward, it's also interesting the idea of careers at all, right? One of the topics that we've been researching so much,
Mm.
and we do want to get to it when we feel ready, is the idea of a lifetime career.
Mm.
Doesn't exist no
Yeah,
anymore.
yeah.
There is no, I mean, so many careers that I can think of have very limited hierarchies to get through.
Mm.
So when that hierarchy is over, what do you do? At
Mm.
some point, you have to start branching out and doing other things. And interestingly, I think the younger folk in the workplace know this intuitively.
Correct,
I don't know
correct,
who told them, but they seem
correct.
to have a general sense that the interest, the frankly, the money could be elsewhere. Right, so
Mm.
many of them are content creators. So many of them are native to that world. Like it's a lot easier for them probably to
Mm.
communicate
Mm.
that than it is for us even.
Mm.
And quite a few of my younger colleagues on the client side who now work on other impact opportunities.
Mm,
So it's not easy, right? I mean, you have a full time job at a startup, but you're
yeah,
also taking your weekends and holidays out to do this.
yeah,
And it's interesting to me that there are a lot of workplaces that are okay with that as well. So there's no,
correct.
I think what I want is that the idea of moonlighting dissipates a little bit. Of
Huh,
course, there are
huh.
jobs that need your full time energy, attention, and you're contractually obligated to, show up and do what you do. But I do wonder if there is value in being able to do other things and being able to consult on
Definitely.
other things.
No, I think that's something, I've learned much later in my working life. That's something that has always I've been pleasantly happy to see that you're able to do multiple things,
Hmm.
right? Multiple interests you're able to nurture, and I think that's something that the younger generations are really getting right. And
Hmm.
I want that to really spread into 2026,
Yeah.
because as a coach, there are a lot of mid-career folks who just never thought of this,
Yeah.
and for no fault of theirs. Honestly, the
Mm.
system, the society, the way workplaces, you were so judged for anything you did outside of
Yeah, yeah.
work.
It was a point of pride to say,
Correct,
oh, my work is my world.
correct, correct.
And something that someone said recently, which stayed with me, is instead of calling it a midlife crisis, let's call it midlife clarity.
Hmm.
And just by reframing some words are so powerful,
Yeah,
man. I mean,
yeah,
it might just be the permission to look
correct.
at where am I
Yeah.
and sort of recalibrate a little bit. I had an opportunity to do an exercise recently, which was basically writing my own eulogy, right?
Whoa. Okay.
so, so one of the parallel things I also do is take a lot of interest and very deep curiosity in the study of the human mind, starting with my own, right?
Mm,
I have, been in therapy for a long time, and I think it has made me who I am. And I also participate in a lot of psychotherapeutic
yeah.
contexts. And more recently, I had the opportunity to be part of something called the U Festival by the
Mm,
School of You
mm,
by Aruna, who we both know. And one of the panels there, sort of a workshop session, was on understanding death.
mm,
And one of the exercises we were doing is that. And of all the many different things that stood out to me in it, of course, one thing that really sort of stood out for me and the friend I was attending it with is that there are no regrets at this point in time. And I feel like that's such a huge thing, right?
I think that's a huge achievement. I think very few of us will, look back suddenly and say, "Oh, I have no
Yeah,
regrets."
and it's come at a cost. Operationally, it has meant waking up at 6 o'clock probably on a Sunday and hating myself. It's
Mm,
probably meant that. It's meant time zones, it's meant travel, it's meant missing family, and it's
mm,
meant missing my cats. But finally, do I have regrets about it? If I ask myself that question, I think 5 years ago I did.
uh,
But today, to just say subconsciously it's not there, it was very, very peaceful. And for that reason alone, I would strongly encourage everyone to go out there and just
yeah.
experiment a little bit more.
Yeah. No, I think what we're learning more and more, and even the language, right? I don't know, in my 20s and even 30s, there was no language saying we give you permission.
Yeah.
The word permission was used as a permission slip and nothing more.
Yeah,
Honestly,
yeah.
like it was never part of common usage.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
I'm giving myself permission. I That's a sentence I've never heard in my
Yeah,
20s
yeah.
or 30s, right?
Mm.
So I'm happy, and I want to see more of that in the coming year. People across fields of work, across age groups, giving themselves permission to do that one other thing, to
Yeah.
try that one new thing, or go back to an old hobby or an old pursuit, because what it does for your mind and body is, it's just
Yeah.
incredible. It's difficult to describe, or it's difficult to, but to have that one interest, you know
That's true.
can really energize your main interest in a way.
That's true. And so, yeah, somewhere you tend to take a more holistic perspective of things when there's
Eh,
more to sort of
yeah,
consider.
yeah.
And just the idea of fulfillment, right? I mean, 10 years of Raincraft.
Who would have thunk, really?
Congratulations, I think.
Thank you. And 4 years of Motley Crue.
Yeah,
My
yeah. I
God.
was just telling a friend yesterday that I have no clue how we got here. And then she said, "What nonsense," which I think to me, it just means I've not thought enough about
Yeah,
it, right?
yeah,
Like, what have I taken away from it?
mm,
But being able to sit here and do this, it's because of Raincraft and it's because of Motley Crue that we get to bootstrap this and we get to
correct.
do it in a way that
Correct. Correct.
makes sense to us at this point in time.
Correct. And we started this as a hobby,
Mm.
and one other thing that we'll try.
Mm.
And yeah, like just feels like yesterday it was 5 years of Raincraft, and suddenly I'm like, where did the other five?
I still have the fifth year hamper, by the way.
Where did we add on another five?
Yeah,
But yeah, I think it meant a lot of permissions,
yeah,
right, along the way, and
and still to this day, I
yeah,
think.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that also, um, the you were talking about the U Festival, and around that time, I attended Manotsav, which is a Rohini Nilakani Foundation 2 day wonderful event on mental health.
Mm-hmm.
Right, a great array of speakers, and I think I want to see more of that in our city and everywhere. Right,
Mm-hmm.
communities of different people, different interests.
Yeah,
Like today, one of the things I love about Bangalore is that. While you can attend a Manotsav in the morning, you can go and attend a comedy club,
yeah,
open mic
yeah.
night in the evening, and you can actually pub hop like it's happening in so many places, right? If
Mm-hmm.
that's an interest, and you can go for an art exhibition, you can go for a dance festival,
Mm.
like in December, Margai Masam May Day will have like this month long.
Yeah, yeah,
A lot of young artists can
yeah.
perform. You have
BIC does a lot of talks and lectures,
BIC
Bangalore
lectures. I mean, the
International
range of
Center.
topics there.
Yeah, they cover even newer entrants, right? Like we have the Pint of View Club, which is a
Hmm.
lot like lectures on tap overseas, where
Hmm.
a different lecturer comes in, teacher, and speaks about different
In a pub.
topics in a pub while having a pint.
Yeah, yeah. The Lit Fest, the
Mm.
Bangalore Lit Fest that we went to. So, all of that, I think just giving people reasons to step out,
Yeah.
meet other people, form little communities. I think that's important for every city and for all of us. Um, I mean, probably in Bangalore, the only downside right now, which I hope changes in 2026, is you really have to think, can I get there in time?
Yeah.
How far is it in time?
Yeah.
Like,
And I think our wish for AI is also to tell us realistically what's going to happen,
correct,
right? Like
correct.
use the data.
Yeah. No, but having these different communities to tap into. And what's interesting is, some of these events you start going to year on year, and you meet certain people there every year,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And there's a
yeah. Well,
little
it's
there's a
such a
little
small
community
world.
there.
Is
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, by the way, there is this crochet retreat that popped up, one
Oh,
useful thing that popped up on my feed next year in Spain.
you should do it.
Yeah, I would need to put together all 10 years of my revenue to get there. It's so exorbitantly priced to take my yarn and crochet in Spain, but there's a community there that I'll get to one day.
I hope that happens sooner rather than later.
Uh,
Yeah, I mean, don't even get me started on the dive trips
yeah,
that
how
we
was
used to.
Mozambique?
Mm. Cold. Yeah, but apparently I've been told that the pictures have come out well, so maybe it was worth it.
We'll get postcards.
Yeah.
No, but all of these, we laugh and but we make a lot of effort to make these things happen,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
To go to these events, to meet different people, and it's always been worth it.
yeah.
You not just not just in terms of people and friendships, but it opens the mind and it takes your mind off other
Yeah,
things.
yeah. I mean, all of last year was a reasonably busy week of learning new things, and I realized your mind is a completely different, and it's such an elastic beast,
Yeah,
like it,
yeah.
it can adapt, it can shift, and it can change, and it can surprise you.
Correct, correct.
But you have to
Yeah, you have
step
to,
out
yeah, you have to.
metaphorically and
Yeah, yeah. No,
literally.
and quite literally, you
Yeah,
you have to step out,
yeah, yeah.
and nothing comes close to that kind of, I don't know, joy and just kind of being in spaces where you don't know anything, and it doesn't matter.
Okay, I have a lot to say about that. But yes, I think one of the things I was thinking about last week also is that as you get to a certain point in your professional life, spaces to be the idiot in the room start
Ah,
shrinking.
yeah, 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 very much.
You are expected to show up, and fair enough, right? I mean, that's the
Hmm.
job, and you've done
Hmm.
it for so long, so you should, there's a baseline assumption of competence,
Yeah.
as it should be. But where do you go and tinker? I
Hmm.
think that
Hmm.
ability to tinker, to workshop,
Correct.
I had the fantastic opportunity to do that last week and discover something about myself that I would have never known otherwise.
Hmm. Hmm.
So more opportunities to do that, I think, in the
Yeah.
next year.
Yeah. No, that definitely. That is a valuable way to spend time, I
Yeah.
feel, because otherwise we're binge watching.
That's also a valuable way to spend time, binge watching Grey's Anatomy. But yeah,
Okay, so what else do we want for 2026? You said we're bootstrapping this
yes,
podcast
so far.
so far. So do we want that to change in 2026?
No, I think so. Not because we don't want to bootstrap anymore, but because collaborations bring opportunities. And I think we've always been to people for whom a hobby was never just going to be a hobby. I
Hmm,
think
that's
that is
true.
something we can fundamentally accept
Yeah.
about ourselves and each other at this point. This is a workplace podcast, and these are conversations about work which we think are pushing some boundaries, right? We've heard people tell us that, hey, that made me think, oh, that's how I'm supposed to work with my Gen Z employee.
Hmm.
Oh, this is why they want matcha on tap, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So many conversations. And of course, we've worked with, partner brands like Upsurge via XLRI. I think it's time for us to take this work to more people.
Hmm.
And the way we want to do that is through financial collaboration, because
Yeah,
I think it gives us an opportunity to bring a partner who's invested in this,
yeah, yeah.
right? And that's important to us. So media houses, brands that are, on the forefront of being the great places to work,
Hmm.
companies that want to rethink how they are designing their workplaces and what they are placing importance on, enterprises most probably, all of them, I think, will take this message to a larger group of people, and
Yeah.
that's what we want.
No, definitely, because I think the audience that we have now, God bless them, very loyal and very generous in telling us what they liked, what they enjoyed, what
Yeah.
they'd like to see more of, right? And and both of us are seeing a pattern, like at least in the last few months, as we're reaching more and more people, we're hearing about specific conversations, specific topics. We're hearing that, hey, we wait to know
Yeah.
something, even if it's not in our wheelhouse. We know we'll get an interesting perspective and we'll
Hmm.
just get to know more about something, and more inquiries to be guests and
Hmm.
to
Hmm.
share their story,
Yeah.
their growth story, their career story, their work story. And so that's very encouraging, and I think for us to be able to do more and more of that,
Yeah.
like you said, a good collaboration, a good partner who also keeps us accountable, make sure we, you know, do everything that we want to. And I think one of my, kind of wanting to do really badly has been about really talk about careers that need
Are
to be
not
talked about
mainstream.
more,
Yeah. 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 For sure.
so I loved having Anuradha and Parshvanath, and just I think it blew our mind that there is so much to learn from dance and art as a career,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
To this day, that episode.
Yeah, it still fascinates me how how much there was to learn from the two of them. And we're talking about so many other careers that we want to touch upon, be it and not everything is like because we do it, or we actually
Hmm.
because we
Hmm.
don't
Hmm.
know anything
Yeah.
about it, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So sports as a career, stand up comedy as a career, we've spoken to so many authors, so more in terms of publishing and
Yeah.
that space.
Yeah.
Food, um, I don't know. Like the other day, I was like telling you, why don't we do textiles and
Of
what's happening?
course.
Like
Yeah.
our
Yeah.
interest is there, our curiosity is there. We just need the
Yeah.
right partners who can help us reach the right audience.
Yeah.
You
Agreed.
know, um, so I think that's a the last but not least
And I think
ask.
we will always be the workplace podcast for the curious.
Hmm.
And whoever resonates with that message is really the sort of,
Yeah, yeah,
brand or the individual that we would want
yeah,
to
yeah.
do this with.
And I think a workplace podcast for the curious through stories,
Yes.
right? I think that really brings out the conversations, because that's what we hear from the guests.
Hmm,
That
hmm.
I've never really sat down and had this kind of a gentle conversation in so long,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And I think that makes us feel
Feel
proud
very
and
happy. Yes.
yeah.
Let me not shy away from saying that I really enjoy this conversation, taking offer from one of our guests.
Yeah. Oof, we've put a lot of load on 2026, so it
Yeah.
better
Now we'll
deliver.
just leave it alone for a while, give it a month.
Let the universe do its magic.
Yes.
But we will be back, right? So we wish you all a very, very happy festive season. Bring in the new year with lots of joy and laughter, and we'll see you again very, very soon.
Bye. Happy holidays.